Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
I'm back, baby! Happy Valentine's Day, man.
Yeah, happy Valentine's, my man. I got you just in time to get you in trouble. The holidays for the ladies here,
Yeah.
but what you been up to, man?
Oh, brother, what haven't I been up to? You know, I really have. I've been trying to get a little bit healthy, getting ready for this is off season. This is when you get your work in.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a quick little story, Mike. So I've been eating pretty good, right? And me and the wife, we're laying in bed, about to go to sleep. You know, we're playing on our phones. I know that's probably not what we're supposed to do, but that's what we do sometimes. And we got to talking, and I was like, you know what we need to do. Now, you got to remember, this is just after I had like a cheat meal. I ate some sushi and stuff, and I was like ready for bed.
Yeah.
I said, we need to join a gym. And she was like, you're right. So here we are, laying in bed, full stomach, and we finally we convince ourselves to sign up for Planet Fitness on our phones, right? So we're like 2 minutes into this, and we're all excited, We're like, we're gonna do this, And then my wife's navigating the website, and she's like, oh, look, we get 20% off if we order flowers, like for Valentine's Day, because today's Valentine's, and we wanted to surprise our daughter. So she gets on there, and my daughter's not big on flowers and stuff, so but we saw chocolate-covered strawberries. I'm like, dude, we're 20 minutes into this fitness thing, and we're ordering chocolate strawberries on Planet Fitness. Dude, I haven't been there yet, but I hear it's a nice facility, I'll just keep sending them money. As long as I keep getting discounts on chocolate, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine there's a select few that actually sign up for a gym and end up ordering chocolates from said gym, but
Oh,
man,
my God.
You're one of a kind, you know what?
We didn't even realize what we're doing, and then when it hit me, I told her, and we just started rolling, I'm sure we triggered something. They're like, this guy's going to buy the works. Let's send him a trainer, he'll pay for whatever. He ain't coming, so. But no, brother, other than that, obviously I took some time off, much needed. I know you had a pretty cool vacation down there in Texas. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. Honestly, I haven't even told you this part, Shane. I enjoyed it. I went down to Austin, Texas, some of the best food. I don't care what anybody says. I live in Nashville. I've eaten the barbecue in Memphis. I've eaten the barbecue in the Carolinas. I'm not disparaging those places and their fine culinary skills, Shane, but by God, I mean, you can't touch Texas barbecue, in my opinion. It's a delicacy. It's almost like eating candy. The meat is so good. I think that was the highlight of the trip, was just all the great food I had down there, and sending you the photos from every meal I had. I think you got a little out of that as well, and of course loaded up on the Voodoo Donuts. So, man, just an all around, just a great relaxing trip. And I didn't tell you this either, Shane. On my last night there, so we rented a car, right?
Yeah.
When you get the car full of gas, you got to bring it back full of gas.
Right.
I made, I don't know Austin that well. I honestly don't. It was around midnight Sunday. It was after the Super Bowl. We went to some people's house for a party. On the way back, stopped at a place to get some gas.
Mm-hmm.
I almost got mugged at the gas station.
Oh.
And this lady yelled at me. She said, they are right there. They're coming to rob you. These guys were coming. And this was while I was inserting my card to get some gas.
Yeah.
I don't know how much gas they got off my card. I don't care, man. I jumped in the car. I got the hell out of there. So,
oh, no.
That was the only bad thing. But, hey, a little adrenaline on a vacation. And nothing bad happened because, like I said, I got the hell out of there. But that was a wild scene, man.
Damn, close scene, man. See what happens when they join the SEC? Texas. See, that's what you got to look out for, brother. Nobody says that. They talk about the barbecue, but they don't talk about the the robberies down there at the gas stations. Oh man, well I'm glad you made it, brother. I really am, and I was digging the photos. It's funny because I've been eating really good, and you went a whole day without sending me something, and I'm like, dude, where's the photos? And I know you were probably like, well, what the hell does he care? You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm living through you, man. I'm eating chicken and rice right now. I need to know what's going on down there. So, but no, I'm glad you're back, brother. I'm glad to be back, and you know, I mean, it's off season, Mike, but we got all kinds of stuff. I mean, they broke some pretty groundbreaking news, in my opinion, here a few days ago. I saw Nick Saban got him a Ferrari. So, I mean, there's all kinds of exciting things going on in the SEC. Could you imagine him? I gotta say, Saban, he can drive whatever he wants, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, I mean, just like there's no midlife crisis. I mean, he's past that. So he's at the point in his life. But I would love to have seen or at least listened to the conversation with him and Miss Terry on why he needs a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen this car? Man, it's bad. It's bad, brother. It is bad news.
Yeah, I'll throw it up here on the YouTube, Shane, for people that haven't seen it. I mean, this is apparently a $277,000 vehicle, and the man can't even park in the damn lines. If you can't park in the lines, I don't know if you need this vehicle, but
Mike, you don't park in the lines when you have that car. You take up 2 spots. You are that guy. I do not blame him one bit. I'd love to see him white knuckling though. You know how them old people drive sometimes.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, you can just see Saban's knuckles as he pulls into the recruit's house. So I'm sure he's using this on the trail, and I think it's fantastic. So new life goal right there is to eventually not only drive or buy one, but maybe fit in a Ferrari. I think that would be a good goal of mine.
Well, you hit on what we wanted to talk about, Shane, on this episode. Like you said, obviously, I mean, heck, it's the middle of February, not a ton going on in college football, but we had a little bit of a bomb dropped while we were both away.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma and Texas officially joining the SEC a year early. So, unfortunately, it's not this upcoming season. It's the following season. But that's going to be a massive year, Shane, for the SEC 2024.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Texas, obviously, we got 2 great storied programs. I'm actually going to be on a Texas show here this week, Shane. The Orange Bloods down there, Texas rivals. Mm-hmm. Hey, they're embracing coming to the SEC. Yeah. They're having us on the show. The SEC will have a new scheduling format. It's yet to be finalized, but that's something we're going to get. We'll have all the time in the world to talk about. The SEC on CBS ends this season, so 2024 is going to be new for the broadcasting rights as well.
Yep.
The 12-team playoff will start in 2024, and maybe most importantly, Shane, for nerds like you and I, EA Sports college football game coming back. I mean, 2024. I'm not even trying to disparage 2023 because we haven't got there. But man, what a historic season or year that's going to be for the SEC and college football.
Mike, I'm already saving up my PTO time, you know? Oh, it's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be a freaking awesome year. And I just look forward to all. I know people don't like change. Some folks don't like when you mix things up a little bit, but I think it's going to be great, man. I think college football is going to look totally different here in 10 years. And we're going to go through some growing pains, but I think when this comes together and we hit we're going to be a super conference, which we already are, but adding 2 powerhouses from Texas and Oklahoma, I think this is great for SEC football, man. And all the other stuff, like you said, there's so much money floating around now. Stadiums are going to be getting more and more upgrades. It's an event, man, and I'm ready for it.
So what I thought we'd talk about on this episode, Shane, with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC, the matchups we are going to be getting in the years to come in the SEC that we are most excited to watch. And, left the criteria, up to you. Could be any way you see this breaking down, and again, we have not finalized, Shane, whether we're going to a 9-game SEC model or are we going to stay at 8. And the sticking point, I'll just tell you now, Shane, what I'm hearing, and this is what I think is going to happen, is they will go to the 9-game model to where you get 3 permanent, you get 6 rotating, and then the next season you get the other 6.
Yeah.
But it's not a slam dunk that they're going to go to that right away, and I'll tell you why. Because the SEC has already negotiated their TV rights deals.
Yeah.
And this was before Texas and Oklahoma come into the league.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, there are schools against going to a 9-game format. I know Kentucky's been very public about that. And one point that I do think is fair to say, again, that the TV deal has been negotiated. So you don't just give, it's going to be ESPN, ABC, you don't give them an extra SEC game for every team without getting more money. So that I mean that's exactly what this comes down to. You add Texas, you add Oklahoma, you want us to go to 9 games, you have to pay up for it. So that's what they're currently negotiating, and if they come to a number that all parties agree on, they will go to this 9-game. And like I said, it may not be 2024. I hope it is.
Yeah.
But if it's not, they'll get there eventually. Hey, college football, whether you like it or not. I mean, bottom line, it's about money. So they're not. The SEC is not going to give ESPN, ABC all this extra content for free. It's going to come at a premium. It's all about what those figures turn out to be. So again, and this is anticipated, Shane. They said within a couple of weeks they're gonna come out and let us know. Is it 8-game? Is it 9-game? Now that we have a firm date of when Texas and Oklahoma are coming, they are ready to start ironing out these schedules. So that is something we'll definitely keep us posted on. But what's your quick thoughts on that? 8-game, 9-game? It almost feels like you got to go to a 9-game with 16 SEC teams, don't you think?
Yeah, and because that was the argument, man, was the fact that you could go to a university and play 4 or 5 years and not even face certain teams. So right. I think this is good because with the expansion of the college football playoffs, we're going to have more teams getting in. You can afford more losses. I think the power of the SEC is going to allow 2-3 lost teams to get in. I think you could really make arguments for that. So adding another SEC game, I think that was part of the concern, was that it may hinder, bowl selection, or it may hinder your chance to getting into the playoffs. But I don't think that's going to happen moving forward. That's why they're expanding. So it's all about entertainment. Think about this, Mike. When you're a fan and you buy home season tickets, it's like you always got those handful of games you really don't want to go to. Like, you do want to go to, but, if it's raining or something, you make an excuse why you can't, and you give it to somebody from your church, and I'll try to be a good guy, you didn't go to UTC, but you got 9 SEC opponents, all of a sudden that ticket holder is rewarded with more entertaining ball games. So I think it's good for the fan, and ultimately that's what the sport's about. It's about the kids getting an education, going on to play professional football, but it's also about the fan, because they're the ones that are paying the bills. They're the one watching the shows. They're the one, going to the games and spending the money. And I think this is just great all the way around. But again, it is change, and I understand there's going to be some naysayers out there. There's going to be a lot of them, and they're probably, doesn't mean it's finalized. I mean, this thing's been pretty fluid. The SEC's been pretty fluid here the last few seasons, so they're going to figure it out. But I think it's going to be better in the long run, Mike.
So let's break it down, Shane. Which games that we're going to have starting in 2024? We obviously don't have the schedule in front of us, but I'm just saying, I'll just go right ahead. My number one, and hell, we're excited about all these games. So,
right.
But the one I'm most looking forward to, obvious selection.
Obvious.
I'm curious to hear yours, but Texas versus Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Getting that back in the rotation, that to me is a number one game we're getting now that Texas and Oklahoma are coming back.
Absolutely, Mike. This is one. I mean, we've got a lot of Texas A&M fans, and we got a few Texas. They're starting to come in, but ever since day one, Mike, it's funny watching them because I love fights, Mike. I don't like to be a part of them, but I like to sit back and listen to them. And it's just about these guys picking at each other the entire time. Texas A&M, anything Texas does, there's a whole bunch of Aggies talking about how shitty their school is, and then and vice versa. So Texas for the longest time I see the claims that they've been dodging us. Texas A&M's been dodging us. Well, now A&M's is a powerhouse now, man. I mean they didn't have the season they wanted last year, but man, this is a program, and these are dudes that can go toe to toe with Texas, and I don't think. This is a matchup that is going to be so massive when it happens for the first time. So easily, far, far, far away is my first pick is the Aggies versus the Longhorns.
Now, number 2 for me, Shane, one of the best rivalries in sports. It's unfortunate, this is one that due to realignment, years ago, we don't get it anymore. But I felt that energy, Shane, when we played it just. What was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Texas and Arkansas is number 2 on my list. And it sounds like there's a chance that is going to be, if they go to this pod format, Texas and Arkansas will be in the same pod. So we'll be getting this one annually if they do that.
Yeah. No, this is a rivalry. You know what I'm saying? It's not one we've talked about, but ever so often, but it won't be long for this thing's rekindled and another massive rivalry in the SEC. So I definitely would put it there. Now I've got one maybe a little more near and dear to my heart, and it's it's more personal. But I can
wait. Can I guess? Because I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Texas versus Tennessee.
Oh, close, brother, close. And it's nothing against. I mean, obvious matchup I want to see, but it is Tennessee versus Oklahoma. And the reason I'm looking forward to this is because we played them a couple years back, 2 games in back-to-back seasons, and one of the loudest games that I've ever seen. And unfortunately, we fell a little bit short, And that's the reason I've never liked Baker Mayfield. So, be honest with you, I'm kind of glad he's failing in the NFL. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Don't tell him I said that. But I think that's one for me because you got the Heupel side, playing quarterback there. That's another one that's going to be built up and be exciting for me. But that's more of and everybody listening, has got a team over there, Texas, Oklahoma, that they don't like. I mean, you got Mizzou that was in, that played these guys on a regular. You got LSU had a tight one with Texas not too long ago. So I just think that every game's going to be awesome, and I think every fan out there has got one that they'd really want to see their team play. But me as a Tennessee homer, mine eventually is Texas, but I mean, oh, God. But then there's the Manning side. I didn't think about that one.
Yep.
That does make that Texas a little bit, because we're going to hear it. Thank God not from Gary, because they negotiated him to move him out west. So, yeah, it's you know what, brother? Just keep going. I'm just going to go off your list. What do you got? I want to see them all.
I could imagine, Shane, every time Texas and Tennessee play, whoever wins – man, those fans, the real UT is going to be all over Twitter for damn near a year. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. You're going to hear about it, how we saved them. Tennessee saved Texas from being part of Mexico. You're going to hear that. And then it's not going to fail. So that's that. I am looking forward to it. I really am. And more importantly, I'm looking to going to this atmosphere. One game, Mike, and I don't even know if this is on your list, but I want to put it on there real quick before you go.
Okay.
Texas and Oklahoma. The reason I'm putting this on there because, Mike, honestly, I don't care. I never have cared about this game, never really paid attention to it. I mean, if nothing else is on, I would watch this game. But now that it's going to impact the SEC, I think you got to put this one to the top of the list because what do they call it? The Red River Shootout? Is that what it's called? Or I think so, right?
I think that's now they've had to change it to Red River Rivalry because we can't call a shootout.
Oh, golly. Can't run shotgun anymore either, huh? What is that? Pistol offense? Get the hell off the field, you know? No, I think that's going to be a good one too, just because now it'll have implications in the SEC.
And you know what's fascinating about that, Shane? I believe there's only 3 games in all of college that they play annually that they play at a neutral site. And the SEC now will have 2 of them with Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia. The other one's Army, Navy. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because how that affects the scheduling. I mean, it already kind of does with Florida and Georgia. And Texas and Oklahoma have made it known they have no intention of moving that from the Texas State Fairs where they have that. So that's another one, man. We'll have to get out there at some point just to take that in. But speaking of Oklahoma, how about this one, Shane? I'm dying to see 2 of the best brands in all of college football. You can make the case, number 1, number 2, Alabama versus Oklahoma. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a matchup. Of course, I think of the Sugar Bowl when, what was it, Trevor Knight, before he came to Texas A&M, huge underdog, just destroyed Alabama in that bowl game. That was after the kick 6, I believe. So I don't know how motivated Alabama was to be there. You know, that's one where the SEC, we got to make an excuse for why we lost. But
absolutely,
Oklahoma, Alabama. I mean just think about these games I'm talking about, Shane. These are national championship type games. This is going to be week 3 of the SEC schedule in a year. You know what?
Exactly. Oh, and you know, their big one was playing at noon. Well, that ain't happening in the SEC, boys. We ain't drunk by noon, so you're going to be playing at 3:30. You're going to be playing at night, and I think that's going to make awesome football too, because, you know, even the Alabama-Texas game, you know, I think that it lost a little bit of luster just because it was so damn hot, and it just was miserable out there, and sluggish football. I think at nighttime when the lights are on and you could focus on 2 of the best teams in the country, I think that's what's college. You know, that's what SEC football's about. So I'm looking forward to that, and so keep going. I like this, Mike. What else you got?
How about this one, Shane? Georgia versus Texas. I mean, Georgia, that's kind of where Texas, they seem to think they deserve to be, you know, in this national conversation, the flagship institution of their state. Of course, we got plenty of people in College Station would disagree with that one, but, we're talking epic Titans here, Georgia, Texas. I can't wait for that one. And you talk about Arch Manning. Georgia was the runner-up to Arch Manning, so they're going to be going head-to-head here soon. Steve Sarkisian offense, Kirby Smart defense. We got some good battles with that one. You know what?
No, I like that one, brother. I do like that one, and it's funny because imagine Georgia establishing some damn pipelines in Texas. You know, it's not
right.
The recruit. I mean, Kirby. I mean, they're already getting pretty much anything they want, but now they're going to get more attention in that state because they're going to be on TV every Saturday. So, I think every team's benefiting from them coming over because just the exposure alone. You know, you grow up liking Texas. Well, now these kids are going to grow up watching Georgia football. They're going to grow up watching Tennessee football or South Carolina football. So they may find a team, and it may be basketball. You know, maybe a basketball. They're watching Kentucky, and then all of a sudden they get into just a Kentucky fan. So I think I just love the expansion of this just because it just opens up that footprint to Texas so that the whole state is now watching SEC football. So, Mike, I will say this, and I mentioned it earlier, that LSU Texas, though, that's one, you know, they played tough when it was some great football action the last 2 times that these 2 teams have met. So I don't think that's going to change either. And you're talking about from a recruit angle, that's going to be important, that little border war, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. And remember, Shane, when Missouri and A&M came into the SEC, kind of the story was, well, I mean, it's going to take them a while. They're not ready for this. And all A&M did was they had this guy named Johnny Manziel lit college football on fire. Right. Missouri won back-to-back SEC East titles. I mean, I think Oklahoma and Texas are going to be motivated because they're already hearing it. You know, you ain't
Right.
SEC, you ain't ready for this. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to come in and dominate the league, but there's going to be motivation for them. I think there's going to be motivation for their fans to, you know, each and we saw it last year. We were laughing at Texas going to compete with Alabama. Give me a break. Had their quarterback not gotten hurt, had they stopped Alabama on that final drive, they would have won that football game.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, these teams, they might be up to the task sooner than later. So I can't wait for those. You hit on Texas LSU. That was certainly on my list. Oklahoma LSU, I think, is another really good series that we could potentially have here out in the Western region. Again, we're going away from divisions, but LSU Oklahoma, I think, has got to be on any list like this as well.
Oh man, I can't wait, man. I can't because I'm just imagining what these games are going to be like, and I can't because the problem is we don't really know. Like we follow recruiting a little bit, but it's not like I'm actively watching Texas football or actively watching Oklahoma football, you know. But once I guarantee you this year I will, even though they're not going to be in the SEC. I got to get my stuff ready because 24 they're going to show up and they're going to make some noise. And like you said, when those boys came over, Texas A&M and Mizzou, I remember Mizzou beating the shit out of us, you know, and I was like, damn, I was not ready for that. I was not prepared for that team. I was like, man, I'm glad we got Mizzou in our conference, you know, and 2 years later, I'm like, damn, I wish we got A&M, you know.
Speaking of Mizzou, I do want to make that point because they do have a history with Texas, a history with Oklahoma. Those games will be good, but also I think, you know, one thing that really hurt Mizzou, I think, a couple years into the SEC was that Texas pipeline was, I don't want to say shut off, but you can no longer sell, hey, we're going to be playing all over Texas on an annual basis. Now you can sell that once again. So I think that really helps Missouri potentially if they can get back into the Texas high schools because there's always so much talent down there that there's always overlooked prospects. And, they're the greatest quarterback arguably in Missouri history, Chase Daniel. I think he's still in the NFL getting paychecks. He's from down there in Texas. I mean, they mind that state. You know what?
Absolutely, and that's what it is. It's relationships, it's recruiting, and like I said, it may not be immediate, but 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons into this thing, you're going to see some of these schools creating, like you said, pipelines and relationships. Not that they're not right now, but when they've got a better interest or investment in the state of Texas, you know, every high school football coach down there is going to get a handshake from Drink, you know.
Right.
So,
and I think you could say the exact same thing with Arkansas playing Texas. And we got to get that A&M game back home and home, playing Oklahoma. Sam Pittman is from Oklahoma, so that game's going to mean a heck of a lot for him. And I mean, so many great games, Shane. This one is on my list, but I almost overlooked it. Oklahoma, Georgia. Remember, they played in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago. Speaking of Baker Mayfield, it was one of the best college football games of all time. Sony Michel scored a touchdown in overtime to put the Dogs in the national championship. I mean, there's every one of these games is going to be great.
You know, you got Beamer, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. All these guys got some ties to one of these schools. Steve Sarkisian coming back versus Nick Saban. I mean, there's going to be so many fun storylines coming up. I mean, you can already read the headlines, you know. So I'm totally pumped up. I at first I ain't gonna lie, it caught me off guard, and I was like, but this is the evolution of college football, Mike, and I think we're going to get into these power conferences, and it's going to come down to 3 or 4 teams out of the SEC, like it always will.
Right. And last matchups here, Shane. I throw you a curveball. I didn't get you ready for this one. I apologize, but same deal. But with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, we're going to change the scheduling format, which means we're going to get more of these matchups of teams that are already in the SEC but that rarely play.
Yeah. And
I'm talking Florida versus Alabama. Games like that are going to be taking place every other year.
Yeah.
That's one of those that's at the very top of my list. Florida, I know they're a little bit down now, but they, for years and years, it was Florida dominating the East, Alabama dominating the West. Only time they'd meet is in a random game, home game or at the SEC championship. They played in the first ever SEC championship. So Florida, Alabama, I'm dying to see. Texas A&M, Georgia. I mean, hell, I don't even know if we've seen like one matchup of that since they joined the conference. Again, we'll be getting this every other year. And then two, that these are rivalry games, Shane, that we have lost. It's
Tennessee and Auburn.
Tennessee, Auburn is on the list, as well as Auburn, Florida. That's another rivalry that we have lost due to the division format. And again, this is just another reason to support the move of Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, because it's just going to make the entire conference better.
Absolutely, man. Abso-freaking-lutely. And you know what else? I think it takes away from you guys got an easy schedule. I think there's a couple of teams, and you know who you are sitting out there, that find their way to 8, 9, 10 win seasons, and you get pointed at saying, well, your rivalry, your cross conference rivalry sucks or something. So I think that's going to kind of go to the wayside, and you're really going to see who are the best teams in the SEC, who are the worst, and you're gonna have an opportunity to play these guys every other year. You literally can follow your program around for 4 years and visit every stadium in the SEC. So I'm all for that, man.
Yeah. Well, Shane, I could talk about Texas and Oklahoma all night long. We've been away so long, but I know you got to run. Anything else you want to hit on before we jump off the line?
Well, it was good seeing some of the boys there in the Super Bowl. That was a hell of a game. I hate that, a penalty was kind of the reason that thing ended so quick. I mean, but other than that, it was a good game. Interesting halftime. I think my wife swung. She popped in for like 15 minutes, and then the next 30 minutes she goes, "I think she is pregnant." So that was what we dealt with here at the Shane residence. But other than that, man, great game. It was good to see some SEC players in there. Say what you want. Jalen played a hell of a game. Made one mistake. Here's a kid that's been through a lot, man, and he looked really, really good out there. Nick Bolton, Mizzou, getting that touchdown, probably what won him the game. Hell, it was definitely a motivator.
Almost had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, honestly, I thought he had it there for a second, and then they slowed down. I want to get into penalties and actual recapping the game because I could stay all night talking about that. But I just thought it was awesome, and it's official, Mike. It's official. Football is done. The final game was played.
Yep.
I saw some highlights for Canada Football League, so I'm going to probably throw that around here in the spring, see what's going on. But other than that, Mike, it's just fun having some SEC news. And this, because of the expansion and so many moving pieces, we're going to have a lot of information coming out here in the offseason. So be sure to keep checking in on us, and as soon as we get the news, we'll break it to you.
Absolutely, and I'm trying to line up some more in-studio guests, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to try to working hard to make sure the show is fun and engaging during the off-season before spring football gets here. And, man, be on the lookout. We got some exciting things coming down the pipeline. But that is going to do it for this episode of the show. I appreciate you, Shane.
Yeah.
Back on the show, man. What a treat to have you on. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Well, thank God those guys ain't fast, because you may still be in Texas. I was thinking about that. They may not have been after your card. They may have been after you,